In today's episode, I'll share my personal journey in becoming a vegan and how it's related to my spiritual awakening. I will also tackle the questions: do you have to be a vegan to be spiritual? Do the foods that you eat affect your vibration? And how are veganism and multidimensionality related? Stay tuned. Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to my YouTube channel or my podcast. I'm your host and guide, Will Caminada, and I'm here to help you awaken, heal, and expand your consciousness. My channel and my podcast is all about offering you guidance and practical tools on your spiritual journey and helping you embrace and embody your multidimensional self. So if this is something you're interested in and my content resonates with you, please make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel or to whatever platform you use, and make sure you follow me on Instagram @GuyWill, where I share exclusive daily content that you won't find here. So I've been meaning to do this video for a while because I've been vegan for almost 6 years now, and I often think about the correlation between veganism and spirituality, and I would definitely say that becoming a vegan was a part of my spiritual awakening journey. Also because I get asked questions, often they're non-spiritual related, like, well, what do you eat? How can you live without meat or cheese? I could never. And the classic, where do you get your protein from? And without any judgment, these are more 3D questions, if you will. They're more on the practical side, the physiological, the mental, psychological aspects. So I won't talk about them today. I want to tackle questions that are more related to energy and spirit. And just before I tackle these questions, let me share a little bit about my journey. So to start off, I never really liked red meat. When I was a teenager, I remember asking my mom to cook more vegetarian food for me. So for a little while, I was a vegetarian. My mom said it was difficult for her to cook meals without any kind of meat. So in Brazil, or at least for most of it, the typical dish is rice and beans, some kind of salad, and some kind of meat. It's actually a really balanced dish when it comes to nutrients. We have the carbs, the protein, the fiber, the fat, and the greens. But we also have this idea, or at least I had, that the meat is the protein. And I won't get into that now, but there are many other sources of protein, and protein is not the only thing that matters, as many people may think. So anyway, my mom at the time asked me if I could at least eat chicken and fish, which to us were lighter meat. Bear in mind, this was a time when internet, YouTube, Instagram weren't a thing. So we didn't really have that much access to recipes and information the way we have today. Obviously, when there's a will, there's a way, but for me, it worked fine because I kind of liked it. And so for many years, I actually only ate chicken and fish, and it felt good. So about 9 years ago, I started meditating daily, and that was a result of my first conscious wave of awakening. And I say this because I believe that the awakening happens in waves, and I had been questioning things related to life and the afterlife ever since I was 8, when my dad transitioned from this physical realm into the spiritual realm. I remember being really consistent with my spiritual practice and quickly realizing that it was just like my physical fitness practice, in the sense that it is a lifelong practice and it requires consistency. Speaking of physical practice, around the same time, I was a gym rat. Kinda am still. And I would eat chicken, egg white, sweet potato, rice pretty much every day. It didn't have any impact on my spiritual practice until I started doing yoga, which for many, it might be a physical practice, but it's definitely a more spiritual practice, at least for me. You start becoming more in touch with the energy of your body and with the intelligence of your body, which is something that we sometimes take for granted. What started happening is that every time I would eat chicken, I felt bloated, I felt heavy, I couldn't digest that properly. So I listened to my body, and this is what I call being an intuitive eater. You intuitively eat what your body likes and not what your mind wants. I decided to do an experiment and I stopped eating chicken. So I went for fish only. And literally after a couple of weeks, I started feeling the same feeling of bloating and that heavy energy. And then again, I listened to my body and I gave it what it wanted, or at least what it didn't want. And after that, I only stopped with eggs and I already didn't have any dairy. So maybe my story is not super inspiring or radical. And yes, after that, I watched documentaries and I do care for the animals and the planet and all of that. But it wasn't because of that that I became vegan. Now, let me say, I think watching documentaries and caring for animals and the world is a beautiful thing, and I know that this is the reason why many people choose to go plant-based. However, you are a unique being and you want to feel good. If you don't feel good and your diet feels restrictive, then you won't have the energy to continue with that commitment. For me, it was definitely something in my energy as I became more in touch with my body intelligence through the expansion of my awareness, through my spiritual practice. I only had to listen to my body and then feel good. Now to the questions. Do you have to be vegan to be spiritual? The short answer to this is no. Also, because being spiritual is a very subjective label. I consider everyone to be spiritual. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. And I add that we are actually multidimensional beings with the potential to have a multidimensional experience. And I'll get to the multidimensionality aspect in a bit. So no, you don't have to be anything to be spiritual. You only need to become aware of your essence, of your spirit, and take the steps to walk this path back to your essence. And this is how I define the healing journey. You're peeling off the layers that have been preventing you from accessing your light within and living from a place of pure unconditional love. So in this path, yes, you will shed layers of fears and trauma and shadow and heaviness, which can include the foods you eat, or in general, the things that you consume, like drinks and media and clothes, etc. So it's really, really important to say here that there is no one recipe fits all approach, and I'm not here to tell you what you should eat, let alone offer you any medical advice. So let's make this very clear. We are all unique beings with a unique body, a unique blueprint, with a unique composition, a unique journey. And I truly believe that your body and your soul know what's good for you, for where you are now. And that can also and will hopefully change as you evolve and as you shift into a more expanded state of consciousness and a more crystalline, lighter body too. Having said that, I do believe that if your diet hasn't changed much from when you were younger, either A, you've always had an amazing balanced diet, kudos for your parents, or B, you're not helping your evolution process and healing journey. There may be aspects of you that haven't changed much because you're resisting that change in your diet. It reflects in your diet. And maybe because this keeps you tied to certain familiar wounds. So you see how deep your relation with diet and food and your spirituality is. The other question that I get asked a lot is, do the foods you eat affect your vibration? The short answer to this is yes, of course. Everything is energy. Some things vibrate at a higher frequency, some things at a lower frequency. So if you had to choose between eating a deep fried chicken or bacon, sorry bacon lovers, and some roasted veggies, which one do you think has a lighter energy? And I know some of you might be thinking, oh, but I feel really good eating my fried chicken. And when I eat healthy food, I don't feel very good. My stomach gets upset. And that is because your body is so intelligent that it adapts to what you give it. It will ask for more of what you're eating because that's all it can get from you. You give your body whatever food you eat, and it will work so hard to sort of filter the good nutrients from that and keep it functioning. That's why I'm a firm believer in experimenting. Try taking dairy from your diet for a couple of weeks or a month, then see how your body responds when you have dairy again. Try cutting off certain foods and see how your body responds. Your best doctor is your body. Now, when it comes to vibration, it is basically about becoming more aware of your energy and energy in general. Today, if I eat something that makes me feel heavy, I almost instantly know that I shouldn't have eaten it. Usually it's fried stuff or things with a lot of refined sugar, and I already know that, and I go, why did I eat it? But it's because I developed that deep relationship with my body and my energy bodies too. If I put something heavy in my body, it repels. It wants it out almost immediately. So my main message again is for you to develop this kind of relationship with your body and with energy awareness. And also feeling the energy of the food before you eat it and making more conscious choices when you choose the foods. Go for whole foods mostly. When you think of overly ultra processed foods, think about all the different stages and processes that this particular food had gone through, all the hands and machines that it's been through, and all the energy that it is carrying. So obviously we can't know exactly what transformations the food go through, and by all means I don't want you to become paranoid with this, but to the best of your ability, feel the energy of the fruits, of the vegetables that you eat. Feel the prana of your food. Obviously, organic whole foods seem safer, but it can also be more expensive. But in general, you can always use your intuition and your energy of love, which is the highest vibration, to choose the foods that you eat, to cook them and eat them. Also, we have to remember that all the food you eat has consciousness, or better, everything is consciousness. So when you're eating an animal that has suffered pain, that has been slaughtered, you're putting that kind of consciousness into your body and your consciousness too. And now we're getting into the multidimensionality aspect. How are veganism and multidimensionality related? Okay, so let's start from the principle that everything is consciousness, as I said, vibrating at different frequencies, some lower and some higher. The lower, the denser, the higher, the less denser, the lighter. We in 3D are denser than the stars, for example. That's why we can't eat them. But a rock is denser than us, and even if we wanted to, we couldn't eat them either. But we can eat lighter foods than us, and we can also eat heavier foods than us. Lettuce is lighter, bacon is heavier. And I don't just mean lighter or heavier in weight, I mean in levels of consciousness. Like I mentioned earlier, if I'm eating a pig that has suffered and has been killed, I'm eating that energy too. And even if that pig has been loved and died of natural causes, which one do you think is lighter in terms of consciousness, the lettuce or the pig? Now you're probably thinking, but I can't eat only lettuce for the rest of my life. I can't either. I love food. But this is just an example of one thing that I believe. Mother Earth provides us with everything we need to be healthy and wealthy. And this has to do with the second dimension, which is related to the elementals and nature. The second dimension is the telluric realm, the space between the iron core crystal at the very center of the planet and the crust of the planet, which is the third dimension that we live in. Our second dimension would also be our inner body, our organs, our tissues, our bones, things that we don't see all the time, but it's always working. So in a way, whatever comes from the 2D will come back to our own 2D in our bodies, because as you may have heard me saying before, we are the universe manifested into this physical form. The Pleiadians say that when you are connected to the second dimension, or in other words, to nature, you are healthy and wealthy because your health is your wealth. Mother Earth is caring for us like a mother with unconditional love. She gives us all that we need to thrive, and yet we look for manufactured fake food or animals that weren't supposed to be on our plates in the first place, sometimes with the excuse that it is the protein, when in fact the protein source of those animals are the plants. Again, Mother Earth is providing us with all that we need. We just complicate things. And honestly, I wish somebody had told me this years ago, but it's never too late. So if there's just one thing that I want you to take from this video, even if you don't agree with me, and it's not about being right or wrong or having that dualistic view about this, I really don't like that preachy approach. And like I said, I believe you know what's best for you, but you also have to experiment and keep up the practice, keep up the expansion of your awareness. So two things actually, that your body is intelligent, so reconnect with that divine intelligence of your body. And second, that Mother Earth loves you unconditionally, and she's here giving you everything you need, even after thousands and thousands of years of pain and years of us treating her badly, and we still do. But like a mother with the purest unconditional love, she provides us with everything we need to be healthy and wealthy. Lastly, remember to always be kind to yourself. This journey is about progression over perfection. And remember that you can choose what you consume and you can choose to evolve. Let me know in the comments, how's your relationship with food and how has this affected your spiritual journey? If some of this has resonated with you, you are probably shifting into 5D consciousness. So watch these 2 videos next. As always, keep shining your light, keep your heart open, and let love lead the way. I love you. See you in the next episode. Bye.